Dean Braxton here with a remarkable death and heaven return tale. Let me recall my life's turning point. At the time, I was working hard as a supervisor in King County's Juvenile Court Probation Department in Seattle. I managed treatment and drug courts and was part of Seattle's juvenile justice management team. I loved working with teens and said I'd do it forever. I didn't realize the conclusion was coming sooner than expected. Before this moment, I believed death was the end. No comeback. It was hard to imagine someone dying, going to paradise, and coming back. The idea appeared as far as the stars. A kidney stone painfully lodged on my right side on May 5, 2006, disrupting my routine. I felt I could bear the pain till the kidney stones passed because I had had them before. However, the discomfort persisted, sending me to the ER. After casually mentioning my kidney stone, I expected a room, narcotics, and pain treatment in the ER. I just wanted the suffering to stop. The blockage caused a kidney infection, complicating problems. They gave me antibiotics and kept me overnight for surgery. The stones were fractured successfully. To my surprise, the antibiotics had little effect on me. I slipped into septic shock because the fractured stones leaked toxins into my bloodstream. My heart stopped, my lungs battled, and every critical function failed. Medical records indicate I was clinically dead for 1 hour 45 minutes. Fearlessness amazed me. As a born-again Christian, heaven was a reassuring certainty, and I anticipated it with peace. My main thought was, I'm going home. I remember leaving my body and accelerating past the hospital floors, into the blue sky, and into outer space. It was unimaginably fast. Faster than light or sound. As I remembered the text, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, I'd realized its profound reality. The speed at which I was moving was faster than the blink of an eye. My arrival in paradise was sudden. As fast as a heartbeat, the change occurred. I saw a window-like opening of light as I approached this region. It wasn't a window, but it was my best analogy. I felt unshakable peace as I neared this bright portal. Nothing could bother me. Everything was perfect. The deepest realization was belonging. I didn't realize how out of place I felt on earth till this holy paradise. I felt like I had found my place. My incredible welcome was one of the most remarkable features of my visit. It was heaven itself that made me feel at home, not just God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit. When I arrived, the gigantic trees, beautiful flowers, and even the atmosphere appeared to beam with excitement. I felt like the universe was happy I came. Arriving, I realized I had a tremendous desire to see Jesus Christ face to face. This need was intense. Later, when recounting my experience, I told people I was with the Father in Jesus, not heaven. I realized that heaven's essence was inseparable from the Father in Jesus. Heaven was heavenly to me because of these divine beings. Through a thick woodland, I felt like I had crossed an ocean to a sunny beach. I instantly knew Jesus Christ was beyond the trees before me. The woodland felt like a portal to him. I felt a great and intense sensation of anticipation as I passed through the trees, as if murmuring, "He's going to see the King, he's going to see the King." I reflected, the only reason I am here is because of what he had done. I was overwhelmed with appreciation. Despite knowing logically that his sacrifice was for all, it felt like a personal gift. This deep personal connection made me feel that his sacrifice and heaven were made for me alone. It seemed personal, but not selfish. I looked at his feet as I thought about this. I realized then that his feet were the source of my unlimited love. I looked at his feet from the side, experiencing a rush of affection that seemed designed for me. This love was targeted to me, not generic. I later realized that God's love is not a shared resource like air or water. Instead, it is deeply personal and individualized. The Creator creates unique love for each person. As I looked up from his feet to his face, every inch of him appeared to radiate love for me. His eyes looked at me with complete acceptance, as if I had never sinned in my life. This pure, pristine love changed me forever. Upon returning to earth, I realized the profundity of that divine gaze that viewed me as perfect and blameless. I later realized that God forgets when he forgives. Hebrews 8 and 10 confirm that God's forgiveness erases all sins. Jesus' glance showed me this holy forgetting. His entire figure appeared to emanate love for me. I felt affectionate when I focused on one finger. His face, cheeks, eyes, and ears emanated unlimited, intimate affection. I saw such deep love in his eyes that it seemed to last forever. I know my everlasting essence, but his love appeared to increase even more. He seemed to multiply his love with each glance. His love was overwhelming and growing, as if he was loving me more every instant. The extent of this love was beyond my grasp, always expanding. Thinking about this divine love brought me to my loved ones. I thought his love for my wife was as great as for me. Like my mother, he loved her deeply. I thought, you truly desire everyone to be here, realizing he wants everyone with him. I'd been taught this fact, but seeing it through Jesus' eyes made it true. He seemed to be downloading tremendous insight into me like a computer acquiring a new program. He kindly said, "No, it's not your time. You need to go back." Surprisingly, I felt calm. I soared above the woodland, not flying, but floating 10 feet above the earth instead of retracing my steps. I felt like I was walking on water, safe and able to ascend as high as I wanted. I felt ready to return to my world as I'd floated over the trees, and intuitively knew the next step would return me to my home world, even though there was no door. I stopped to prepare for departure. Despite the delight of being in heaven, I was surprised to be glad my body wasn't ready. My joy in such a position may surprise you. Heaven is unmatched in calm and perfection. Even though I was happy, I felt reluctant to leave. Turning around, I confirmed my presence in heaven. Jesus was on the other side of the jungle, but I wanted to explore. I strolled to the left of the woodland, savoring the scene and thinking, I'm staying now. As I strolled, everything seemed happy. The trees seemed to smile, but I can't confirm it. This delight seemed to spread to the flowers, and even the light seemed to smile. I can't say these things smiled, but their joy was obvious. I walked quickly and smoothly through the scene like a moving walkway at an airport. The mountains around me rippled like waves, creating a magnificent scene. Even though they were solid, beautiful peaks, they moved like waves. I thought, wow, I'd felt like I might never leave after such a magnificent experience. I returned to Jesus because I had to. My approach was different this time, and I circled behind him before bowing again. I wondered how long he had been with them, strategizing, coordinating, and assigning responsibilities for heaven and the angels descending to earth. It was obvious he was carefully directing everything. He stressed several themes and discussed paradise during our conversation. He was radiating a brilliant, multicolored light from the throne of God. The throne seemed distant, but it felt close, as if heaven had no distance. I felt like I was there while being miles away. Perhaps God Almighty's presence or clarity of vision made it feel so close. Although Jesus, I, and the assembly were in a woodland clearing, we felt near to the throne. Jesus addressed the crowd after giving his word and wisdom. I was struck by their response. They would draw back their wings or arms and gently recede while staring at him. I was awed by their reverence and power as they never turned away. Again looking at me, his eyes filled with an unfathomable, increasing beauty. People often ask me how he looks, and I can only say he is undefined. His attractiveness seems to grow with each passing second. With mild persistence, he repeated, "No, it's not your time. Go back now." His words hit me harder this time. I reached the tree's edge, ready to leave, but my body wasn't ready. I thought, yes, I am staying. Later, in the hospital, I quipped, 3 strikes, you're out. I went straight into the forest instead of left, uncovering a world of seas, rivers, and other waterways. This side was mostly blue, but not in any hue. That brilliant blue made it seem like God was always generating new colors, pure and original, not derived from primary colors. Everything emanating from the Father was stunning. I met saints, gazed at animals, and was impressed by the many horses. A clear reminder of the biblical prophecy of Jesus returning on a horse. I searched National Geographic and underwater videos for these celestial beings after returning from the amazing diversity. I saw things I'd never seen before. When I returned to Jesus, I was shocked to discover that the creatures and beings had always been there. I just hadn't noticed. Jesus was quartered to my side as I resumed my posture. As I looked at his feet and then up, I saw my family on his other side. My grandma Mary lead generations of kinfolk in the heavenly embrace of Jesus Christ and the Father. I knew they were there the first and second times I was with Jesus, but I was too concentrated on him to notice. Jesus and my family joined me this time. Heaven exists outside of time, rendering earthly descriptions inadequate. They weren't just lights, they had a real, eternal spiritual form with recognizable attributes. Their presence blended earthly and celestial forms. They were radiant, smiling, and filled with excitement. Their spiritual bodies were different from ours, but they had arms and legs like eternity. Since heaven was timeless, youth did not exist. My family on the other side of Jesus appeared joyful and radiant, as if they were a reflection of Jesus' brightness. Their joy went beyond tranquility to perfect happiness. They were most noticeable for their smiles, a universal sign of happiness. I noticed that they had no problems or disputes, only peace and joy. Later, I saw my family in heaven smiling and at peace. I had never seen my family so joyful and united on earth. I thought seeing my family in such a state meant nirvana. I'd always thought of God's family abstractly, but seeing family in heaven, its significance and joy, was eye-opening. I also saw people who didn't satisfy my earthly heaven criterion. My criteria were accepting Jesus Christ and acting on it. Seeing my Aunt Barbara, my favorite, beaming with delight and light changed my mind. She was in paradise, rejoicing, even though I thought she was condemned. I realized that Jesus understood her heart, and acceptance was more important than my judgment. I was very glad for her attendance. I became more grateful when I realized it wasn't about me. It was about him. That moment was significant not because of me, but because of his supernatural recognition. Seeing my family as a tapestry of generations was breathtaking. I didn't know that many of my ancestors were religious. This lineage was too large to count. I desperately wanted to capture and relive that event, savoring every second of its magnificent beauty. The truth hit me hard. My family welcomed me. I often say we were made for eternal family life. The divine blueprint was developed in Genesis 1. In Genesis 3, things unravel. That first chapter envisioned family as an eternal link of love, harmony, and joy. We should have family as God intended. This immortal lineage will include people adopted into other households. You'll be part of God's infinite family as well as your biological family. Consider that your adopted family and step-parents will meet you. Being accepted into this spiritual family has a significant consequence we frequently ignore. Jesus gave me a deep awareness of this awe-inspiring truth. I was immersed in heaven's celestial symphony, where all creation sang praise and worship. Even in this beautiful display, Jesus stared at me and said, "No, it is not your time. Go back." It felt like the entire cosmos, which had been so close, had moved with purpose. It was as if all of existence was saying, "He's not speaking of us. He's addressing you." I felt like a soldier, once an Air Force member, responding with a resolute, "Yes, sir." As I prepared to leave, I sensed that Jesus was saying, "I need you there more than I need you here." In that hallowed moment, my grandma gazed at me and said, "Bring as many of us back with you as you can," referring to my earthly family. I bowed down before Jesus, traversed those celestial realms again, reached the edge of heaven, made a step, and returned to this world with the weight and amazement of that holy experience. I recall returning so quickly, it felt like a baby crying in sorrow. Observing my body in the hospital room, I watched the medical team calm down and clean up. My doctor was signing my death certificate. It felt strange and unreal. For unknown reasons, I gazed down at my lifeless form and instinctively re-entered it. The doctors were startled when the monitors started signaling warnings and ran to my side. Intubated quickly, I breathed again and returned to life. It was an astonishing experience I hadn't expected or wanted, but I felt like Jesus was telling me, "I need you there more than I need you here." I was transformed. I saw life through eternity. I no longer had a strong attachment to material things. I'm still concerned about the world, but loss no longer weighs on me. As she witnessed these changes, my wife may be able to explain them better. The man who returned was different from the one who left, thus our relationship had to change. I was a terrific father and spouse before leaving. I changed when I returned. My wife and I had to recreate our relationship from scratch to fit our new dynamics. If this happened again, she said she would let me go without trying to get me back. This is my story to share. Hope it struck you. Thank you for watching today's video. Click the link in the description to learn how to make a successful YouTube channel. We'll demonstrate. See you next video.